Well, guys, I'll introduce my guest for you today. I thought that one of the first guests who I should get on board is one of my personal most trusted advisors because I know a lot of businesses are doing it a little bit tough at the moment. So obviously an accountant is probably a good person to speak to. But it goes a little bit more than that. Jeff has actually been my accountant since 2010. And the year I started my business was the one year we couldn't work together. And it was also the year before I had my bookkeeper, Ange. And man, did I get myself into some trouble, which Jeff bailed me out of. But that experience really showed me how important it is to have people who actually care if you succeed and who you can trust, because Jeff knows that I don't know anything about accounting and about like what's going on in the government and all things like that. And the good thing is, because you know that I don't know that, you make sure I know. And yeah, as a result, I'm probably ahead of most businesses in terms of knowing about like the stimulus packages and the various things that are available for small businesses. So I thought I'd get Jeff on board so you can also know about those things. So Jeff is the owner of Honed Accounting, Honed Accounting, but like I'll put it in the blog and everything like that. And yeah, how are you feeling about things, Jeff? There's been a lot of announcements this week.
Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts at the moment. So from what we were speaking about last week, there was some new announcements made on Monday. So it's just constantly changing, really. So we're just trying to keep up to date with it all. Yeah, as for us, it's as much business as usual as possible. We're all working from home. We're lucky that we're able to work remotely with what we do. For a lot of things. So, we're just gonna take each day as it comes and keep doing what we're doing. So, until we hear otherwise. So.
Well, if there's one thing businesses need right now, it's an accountant.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're flat out at the moment. So,
yeah,
we're happy to help where we can.
Oh, perfect. Well, first question. For small businesses, what are some of your top tips for helping them maintain cash flow?
So firstly, the most important thing I'd be saying is if you're concerned about cash flow at all, I'd be speaking with your accountant as soon as possible and start doing some cash flow projections. You want to know what your regular overheads are, and you want to know how long the cash that you've got is going to last you. So it's important that you sit down and start going through that straight away, because if there are going to be shortfalls over the coming months, you can start to put things in place now to be able to access additional funds. So, speak with your accountant, get across all of these incentives. There's a lot of, small business lending incentives at the moment, so you may be able to access more loans if need be. I'd also look at your existing available credit as well. So any redraws available on existing mortgages, credit card limits, stuff like that. Just know where you're at with all that stuff. If you're not sure how to access that, I'd be speaking with your either business banker or your mortgage broker, and they'll be able to put you in the right direction for that.
Perfect. And for the businesses who have staff but don't want to lose the staff but can't afford to pay them properly at this point in time, what are some of their options?
But there is a number of different options available at this stage. The first thing that I would say, similar to what we've been doing, is if you can work from home at the moment and continue operating, then I'd definitely be, using that as the first option. And if you can and aren't already working from home, I'd probably suggest, making sure that you're looking to do that in the next few days and continuing to operate that way. Unfortunately, not all businesses are going to be able to do that. And so there will be, some businesses out there that do find themselves with difficulty, in being able to continue to pay their staff if they don't have, any money coming in. So there are a few government incentives for employers at the moment. So the first one being the cash flow boost for employers, where you'll get a minimum payment from the ATO for $20,000 up to a maximum of $100,000. and that's during the March, June, and September 2020 quarters as part of the BAS. So that's the first one there, which is an actual cash incentive there.
And what's that one called quickly?
So that's called the cash flow boost for employers. So it's done as part of the BAS system. There's credits that will be on business activity statements for those periods. If clients do go into a refund position, the ATO will actually be paying that out as cash refunds. So these are that's it. So look, these are obviously real options there. So that's a minimum of $20,000 in savings for any employers out there. So that's obviously a big one. It is for small businesses only, but they define small business as turnover of less than 50 million for these purposes. So
everyone,
I'm sure, yeah, exactly. One of the other things that are available is if you do employ apprentices or trainees, there's a 50% wage subsidy for the 9 months from 1 January to 30 September 2020. So
as in they pay you back 50% for trainees?
Yeah, so they'll cover 50% of their wage costs, up to $7,000 per employee per quarter.
Oh, wow.
So it's up to $21,000 across those 9 months per apprentice or trainee. There's also another option which was just announced on Monday, so we're still waiting to see what this will actually look like, but it's called the JobKeeper payment, which will mean that eligible businesses that have been impacted, they're currently defining that as having a 30% downturn in revenue for a period of at least 1 month comparable to a year ago. So we're still waiting on some exact guidance on what that will look like, but that will be $1,500 per fortnight per employee, which will be paid directly to the business to then subsidise some of those wage costs. They do need to be paid out to those staff in full. So even if...
so that money goes to the staff, it doesn't go
Correct.
to you?
It goes to the business, and then you need to pay it to the staff. So if you've got someone that's paid, let's say $3,000 per fortnight, you'll get the $1,500, and you'll need to continue paying the $3,000 to them to be eligible.
Oh, perfect.
If they're on $1,000 a fortnight normally, you'll still have to pay the full $1,500 to them. So it's just making sure that gets passed on in full to all staff as well. So
I can benefit from
that's another good one there as well. But because it was only announced on Monday, we're just waiting on some actual guidance on what that will look like in practice.
Awesome. And I assume you or Angela will know whether I'm eligible for that, right?
Exactly right. Yeah. So, I mean,
I was going to say, I won't.
Yeah, look, you've got a head start on it as well because you're using Xero or, anyone that's using sort of live accounting software will be able to get that real-time data to be able to show that sort of stuff. So look, anyone that's not using that sort of stuff at the moment, I'd kind of use this as the driver to, to go and start doing that now, because you will need to start, providing, real-time information to, to various places.
Yeah, good to know. Remember when I used to send you a spreadsheet every year?
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh my God, I tried to get a government grant last year from the years that I had a spreadsheet, and the guy was just like, oh my God, this is the worst job I've ever done.
Yeah, I'm glad that one wasn't me.
Yeah. So, my next question was, can you tell us more about government stimulus packages for businesses with staff? But I'm guessing we just covered that.
We did cover most of it, yeah. So like I said, the main one with the cash flow boost for employers, the minimum of $20,000. So it's obviously the 1st of April today, which means that the March BASs, can be lodged from today, basically. So that's going to be the first one that comes into play. If there is any refunds available to the businesses, they'll receive those within 14 days of the due date for that BAS, if it is launched on time, and the due date's 28th of April. So within 14 days of that, if you are entitled to a refund, you'll actually be getting that cash boost there. So it's really important as well to point out that that they've included some integrity measures as part of the legislation for that. So if you're not already paying wages, or you're not currently eligible for that, I wouldn't be going and putting yourself on the book suddenly, or increasing what you're paying yourself or anything like that. As there will be penalties for that sort of stuff as well. So if you're not sure if you're eligible, I'd definitely be speaking with a professional about that.
Yes, nobody likes an audit.
Exactly.
So are there any options for sole traders?
There is actually. Up until Monday, it was pretty bleak for sole traders, because unless they were actually employing other staff, aside from themselves, which there's not many sole traders out there who would be doing that. They were previously only eligible for the job seeker payment, which meant that they would basically have to get paid through Centrelink, which was up to $1,100 per fortnight. The job, which is okay, but the JobKeeper payment, which was announced on Monday, means that they are eligible for that as well if they can show that they've had a 30% downturn in turnover, which means that they can apply directly for that $1,500 per fortnight as well.
Could they get JobKeeper and the other one, or could they only go for one?
No, so you can only be eligible for one.
I'm still getting $750 per week / $1,500 is pretty good. I don't
absolutely,
know
and
right on that.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is that if they're getting the JobKeeper payment, they can continue, operating the business. So it might have had a downturn, but there's nothing to say that they can't still be earning money from there as well. So that $1,500 will just be a subsidy, in essence. So
that's really good.
Yeah, and it is before tax. So any tax that does that, so those payments will be taxable when you do pay them to employees. Whereas the $20,000 that's coming in from the government, or the up to $100,000, that's a tax-free payment to businesses. So
oh wow.
Yeah.
God, they make it complicated, don't they? Like, you
They
would
do.
not want to have an accountant, would you?
Yeah. Look, I mean, the cash flow boost for employers, the legislation came out for that sometime last week, and I believe it's about 16 pages long, the legislation. So it's
I'm not reading
that. No. So
that's crazy. So is there anything else that you want to add?
Look, the most important thing here is that there's obviously a number of incentives out there that the government, has introduced. So they've actually really stood up here, and they're throwing a lot of money at this. But also they're coming out with a lot of policies too. So if you're a small business that has existing lending, you can get a 6-month repayment holiday on any of those existing debts. So straight away, if that's something that you need to do, I'd be reaching out to those institutions and seeing if you can arrange for that straight away. Keep in mind it doesn't mean that it's going to eliminate that interest. That will still be charged and capitalized. So you will need to pay it at a later date. So of course, don't just be doing it if your business hasn't been affected at this stage. But I'd definitely be looking at that if that's something that is going to happen over the next few months. There's government-backed small business lending as well, for loans of up to $250,000, with a maximum loan term of 3 years. So for the first 6 months of those, they will be also repayment free. So again, if you do need to look at borrowing further money, there's incentives there as well that the government's backing. So there are a lot of options. It's really, the government have really come out here and put some incentives in place to try and, keep businesses active and open up the doors for banks to be able to lend to them, easily and more quickly. So, but of course, don't go getting yourself into, debt that you can't afford to repay once you once you come through this. That's obviously the important message there as well.
I have anxiety about borrowing money or having any debt. So
yeah, look, I mean, if you can afford to not have to do that, great. That's absolutely the first thing that you want to do. But look, if you do need to go down that path, and the debt is for business purposes, again, any interest costs and that sort of thing will be tax deductible as well. So, if you do need to look at things like that, there are options out there. So that's the most important thing, that there's options out there if you need them. So
yeah, absolutely. Look, I actually think they've done a pretty good effort getting all of these things together. Like, obviously, you can't announce everything on day one because you need to see where it goes. I mean, no one expected a pandemic that started that deep. But no, it's good. And I've got to say, I feel very supported having you in my corner, because I would be very lost without it.
Yeah, and like we said, for the stuff that we do, for the stuff that you do, we're lucky that we have businesses that you can do a lot of the work remotely. It's tough generating new business without that face-to-face contact. But I think at the moment it's just about surviving. It's not going to be about how do we grow compared to last year. It's just how do we get through this. And the whole world's on pause at the moment, so it's just about getting through and having the business ready to go when we do come out of it. So
I find it ironic that this was the first year that I was going to have a saving strategy to buy a house. And I was going to invest in stocks like 1 week before this happened. Good thing I didn't get around to it.
Absolutely. But look, I mean, that's another thing there as well. People that do have cash, will be investing at times like this as well, because prices are low right now. So people are going to be doing stuff like that. There are opportunities out there. But, first and foremost, you don't want to be spending money that, you might need in 3 months' time if we're, still not on the back end of this. So,
well, that's the thing. My dad called me and goes, get some money together when this goes all the way down. Just put it out there, get into the stock market. So I'm kind of saving it at the moment, but I also don't know what's going to happen. So I'm not going to.
He's not technically giving you financial advice, of course.
No, it's my dad.
Of course.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you, Jeff.
No worries.
Cool. All right. Bye.
Thanks. Catch soon. Bye.